Hey guys, it's LEGO Boy Z3. Today I'm going to show you Beginner's F2L. So this is a tutorial for people who've been using the basic beginner's method on a 3x3 and want to learn to get a little bit faster. So first off, of course, you would do a cross in the beginner's method. Then you would put each of these corner pieces in one at a time, maybe something like this. And once you've completed that, you'd probably go over, find a slot for an edge piece, find the edge piece that goes into there, and do an algorithm something like this to put the edge piece in. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you don't know how to solve a cube, go ahead and look in the description, and there will be a link that says Beginner's Method Tutorial. You can use that to learn how to solve a cube for the first time, but once you want to get a little bit faster, you can use this tutorial. So basically, F2L is a step on the 3x3 that comes after the cross, but before the last layer, where you take edge pieces and corner pieces together like this, and you put them in both at once. So instead of, say, putting this corner piece into this slot and then putting the edge in to follow, what you would do is you do a couple of setup moves, and then you can just put both of them in right at once, just like that. So that's basically all there is to the concept. You're taking an empty slot, and you're putting both the edge and the corner in at the same time. So after every case I show you in this tutorial, you're going to want to ask yourself if it makes complete sense to you, and if you would be able to do it on your own cube. My guess is that most of the time, most of you guys wouldn't be able to do it on your own cube, so practice. As you're going along with this video, have a cube out, especially in the later parts. Try what I'm doing, try moving around pieces in the way that I'm doing, try matching them up, try pairing them and putting them in the correct slot. Because if you don't completely understand one example that I'm showing you early on, that could end up getting you lost later on, because pretty much everything on F2L builds upon itself. With all that being said, let's get started. Before we start F2L, we're always going to want to put the cross onto the bottom. This is how you're going to keep the cube always. You're never going to rotate it up here or up here. It's always going to be right on the bottom, and you can rotate just like this. Now you may be thinking there must be a lot of cases and a lot of algorithms to go along with those cases, because you have the corner piece here and the edge piece here. The corner piece could be over here, or it could be rotated, or the edge piece could be over here, or it could be flipped. But that's not really how F2L works. Basically what you have is you have a couple of basic cases, and this right here is one of those cases. And so every time you put an F2L pair into a slot, you're going to reduce it to either this case or one other case. And so you're going to do a couple of setup moves, like maybe 3 or 4 things like this, to get the pieces together into one of those cases. And then you will do a couple more moves, and that will put it in the correct slot. And so I'm just going to start off with one of those basic cases right here. This is the one that I just showed you. And so when you begin solving a cube and you look for an edge piece and a corner piece to put together, it's not very often that they'll already be together like this, but it will happen occasionally. But in the case that you do have an edge piece right here and a corner piece perfectly matching up to it so that these two colors are the same and these two colors are the same, it doesn't matter where on the top of the cube this is, just up here, and you have white over on this side. What you want to do is look at the two colors that you have involved, so white doesn't really matter. You have blue and you have orange. And then you'll look down at the bottom and you'll find the slot that has blue and orange open. So once you have found the appropriate slot and your pair is still up here, you want to line it up in a very specific way. So what you have is you have white facing off to this side, and the piece kind of forms an L shape with the slot that it needs to go into. So these are the two pieces of the slot, these are the two pieces of the pair, and it forms kind of an L shape like this. And you can kind of ignore this corner piece that's in the middle of your L because it doesn't really matter. Now what you want to do is bring the slot up like this. So you want to turn the side that has the slot on it, not the side that has the slot and the pair, just the side that has the slot. Move it up, and then you do some sort of U move to bring the pair over into the slot, and then you can do the first move that you did once again, but in the opposite direction, to bring the slot back down. And now we've completed our first F2L pair. So I'm just going to show you that again real quick. So we have our pair that's already made up here. Now what we can do is look at the two colors, so we have green and orange. We can find the green and orange slot, move it kind of above this slot, and you want to make it so it forms an L shape. So you have these two pieces, and a corner in the middle. Now you may have noticed that last time we had an L shape over here, but this time it's actually over on the opposite side over here. So you solve this in exactly the same way, it's just the exact mirror of the previous case. So if you imagine you take this pair and the slot, and you mirror it over to the other side, you would have what we had before. So what you want to do to solve this is the exact same thing. So you move the side up that has the slot on it. Make sure you're not bringing up this side like we did before, because this side has the pair on it and you don't want to mess with the pair for now. So you move up this side that doesn't have the pair but it does have the slot. We move the pair over and we do the opposite of that first move bringing both the slot and the pair back down. Okay, so real quick, I'm just going to do this one more time before we move on. So we have our cross made. We'll look around on the top and we have our pair made right here. This won't always happen, but let's just pretend that it did happen. And we move it over to the appropriate slot. These are the same colors as the slot right here. And we make it so we have an L shape facing the slot just like this. If we were to have it over here, that would be incorrect because we don't have the open corner. You just have it right on top of it. You have to have it over like this so it's facing, making a big L with a corner piece that doesn't matter in the middle. So we have this one and the slot. Then you bring the side of the slot up, you move the pair over, and you bring the slot back down. So now it's time to look at the second basic case that all other cases will eventually become. So that first one was pretty simple. You just have the two pieces right next to each other. This one is a little bit more complex. If you look at this piece right here and this one in the back, that is the case. So you just have two pieces, a corner piece right here, and an edge piece back here. And so here's how to identify it. Keep in mind that this will be very important later when you're actually taking other cases and making it into this case. And so you have the corner piece right here. You have one of the white pieces facing off to the side, and you want to look at this color on top. So this color is green, and if you look at the edge piece, the color on top will be the opposite color, so red. So for example, if you had these two pieces in the same positions, but the colors on top were both red, that would be incorrect. They have to be the opposite colors on the top. However, this is the correct case with these two pieces right here. It's just mirrored from what we had before. So we have green right here and green back here. That is correct. And later on, you want to imagine moving this corner piece up to match with this edge piece. So you may notice that these two pieces line up very nicely. The colors are all matched up and everything like that. But you may notice that if you were to have the same color on the top of these two pieces, then they would not go together nicely because this piece would be flipped around. Also notice that when we're bringing the two pieces together, you want to make sure that the side that you're turning is the side that has the white part of the corner piece on it. So if you're ever in question later on about which side to turn, whether it's like this one or this one, just look at where the white part of the corner piece is, and it's this one. Okay, so you know what the case looks like, but how do you actually put it in the correct slot? So what you want to do is look at the two unique colors. So we have green and red, and you go around and find the correct green and red slot, which is right here. And what you want to do is bring it so the corner piece is directly on top of where the slot is. Now it's pretty simple. You want to turn the side, like I said earlier, that has the white part of the piece on it. So it's like this. And what you're doing is you're bringing this corner piece up to match up with the edge piece. Now what you want to do is bring this nicely made pair over into the slot and bring this side back down again, and it will be in the correct slot. And it's as simple as that. Just 3 moves, just like the other simple case. So I'll just show you that one more time from a different angle. And so we have this piece right here and this piece. You see that they are correct when you put them together. So we have red and blue on the piece. So we have the red and blue slot over here. We do a couple U moves until the red and blue piece becomes above the slot. And we turn the side that has the white part of the corner piece on it till they get matched up. We move it over like this and back down. Now let's review all of that really quick. So here is the first basic case. What you want to do is look at the two colors, find the slot that it needs to go into, and we want to make an L shape. So this is not a correct L shape. What we want to do is have the two pieces here, and one random corner right here. And we want to bring this side up without the piece, bring the pair over and back down. That should be very familiar to you. And the one that we just learned is we have two pieces like this so that they go together like that. We bring it over on top of the correct slot, move the side that has white on it over up to the piece, bring the slot over and back down. So those are your two basic cases, and now let's use them. So like I said, every single case in F2L can be ultimately broken down into one of those two basic cases. And so to do that, to make one of those basic cases, the only requirement is that you have a corner and a matching edge on the top layer. And so in the future, you may have something like a piece not in the top layer. I'll go over that in a minute. But for now, let's just pretend that our two matching pieces are always just on the top. So the first step in making an F2L pair is looking at the top two colors. And so in this case, they are the same. All you want to know is that if they're the same or opposite. So in this case, they're the same. So this case is going to reduce to that first case that I showed you where the pieces are right next to each other. Now, how do you do that? How do you take a case that looks like this and turn it into the case that we had before? And so I'm going to introduce you to something called hiding pieces. And so basically what that is you take a piece like this, you move it down onto the bottom layer. And what that then allows you to do is move the other piece in your pair around freely without affecting the position of this piece. So you'll hide it down, move the top layer in some way, and then bring this piece back up. And so now you can see that earlier we had the piece back here, the edge piece, and now it moved over to here, and the corner piece is still in the same spot. And so you may be able to see that if we move this piece down here, move the edge piece over, and back up, we now have our pair. Now I'll show you that again. We have this corner and its matching edge over here. What we want to do is bring down this piece and then move this over. Now in this case, we actually don't want to bring it down in this way, because you can see that if we were to move the edge piece over and back up, this is not the case that we were looking for. So generally while you're doing this, just like before, you're going to want to turn the side that has the white sticker on it. And so instead of this side, which doesn't have white on it, we want to turn the side that has white on it, just like this. So you can do it on either side because you can mirror every single case. In this case, we want to do it like this. Now the piece is over here, bring it up right next to the correct corner piece, and there we go, we have our piece again. Now what you want to do is bring it over into the slot. Here's the correct slot. We make an L shape just like before and put it in. So I'm just going to show you one more example of that. We have our corner piece here, we have our matching edge piece over here. If we look at the two top colors, they are both red, so they are both the same. And what we want to do is turn the side that has the white downward, so we're hiding that piece. And now we can bring this piece all the way around, back up right up next to the appropriate piece. And now we can bring it right into the correct slot. So the slot's right here. We have this case, bring it in, we have our L shape, bring it in just like that. Now one more thing under the subcategory of when you have matching pieces up at the top here. So you may notice that in this case, we actually have the pieces right next to each other, but they're not correctly next to each other. So what we want to do in this case is we can't just do a setup move like this, because when we hide the piece down like that, it also hides the edge piece. So you can hide both corner pieces and you can hide edge pieces. So in this case, we just can't hide this corner piece by turning the side that has white on it, because this edge piece is in the way and it gets stuck too. What we're going to do instead, if you ever find this case, is we're actually going to hide the corner piece in the other direction. So instead of doing it like this, we're actually going to hide it like this, so that we separate both the corner piece and the edge piece. So white is not going to be on the outer piece, that's okay. We're just going to move it down, and now we can move the edge piece over. Just move it over to this side, or you can do a double move, it doesn't really matter, and bring it back up. As long as you don't put it over here, because that will mess it up and put it back in the slot. Just put it over off to the side here. Now what you can do is set it up to the case that you had earlier, where we can just move this side down, move that around, and now we have the L shape and we can put it in just like that. And one more time with these two pieces, we look at them and we have red on top on both of them. And so normally we would turn the side that has white on it down here, but that also hides the edge piece, so that's no good. Instead, we want to hide the side that doesn't have white on it, so that we can move this corner piece over to the side, away from this corner piece, and now we can turn the side that does have white on it, bring the edge piece over around next to the corner piece, and now we have the pair made, and we can insert it by making our L shape just like that. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the second subcategory of cases that involve hiding pieces to set up to more basic cases. Now this happens again when you have two matching pieces that are already on the top layer, but in this case we actually have opposite colors on the top. So here we have blue and here we have orange, whereas before we would have blue and blue or orange and orange on both of them. Now before I really tell you how to solve a case like this that has opposite pieces on the top, I'm just going to show you an example. So we're going to hide this corner piece down by turning the side that has white on it. We move this piece over to the back, whereas earlier we would move it up to the front. In this case we move it to the back, and now we have this basic case which I showed you earlier. So this right here is the case where you can just bring the two pieces together and it will make a pair. So what you want to do is bring it above the correct slot and bring it over and down like that. Okay, so as you might have just saw there, whenever we have the two opposite colors on the top like this, it's always going to set up into that second basic case that I originally showed you. And so this is a different case of it. And so in this particular case, they happen to be right next to each other, but that's okay. We're just going to hide down this corner piece, again, by turning the side that has white on it, just like this. Not this one, because that would also move down the edge piece. We're just going to turn the side that has white on it, down like that. We move it over, not directly next to it, but directly opposite of there. So right in the back, just like that. And now we have set up to this case, and we can just bring it in just like before. Now here is a mirror of one of those types of cases. So here is the corner piece, here is the edge piece. They have the opposite colors on top, and so all you want to do is move this white piece down, move the edge piece over to the back, and move this piece back up, and then we can slot it right in like that. And just like on the cases when you had similar colors on top, there's also a special case for when you have opposite colors on the top. And so you can see here that if we turn the side that has the white sticker on it, it will move both the corner and the edge, which we don't want. And so what you can do instead is just move this other side that also has the corner on it, and you hide the corner down here, move the edge over to there, bring the corner back up, and now it's perfectly in position to just slot it in by moving this piece up, slot over, and slot back down. Now there is another category of cases real quick. Trust me, it's very easy. And this happens when you have the two matching pieces on the top layer like this, but you don't have either opposite or matching colors because you have a white piece on the top. And so if the corner piece is facing like this so that the white is on the top, then that is this third category of cases. And so the reason that this is so simple to solve is that any case from this category you can solve by just turning it into a case from one of these two categories. So all you really want to do is make it so the white is no longer facing upwards. That's pretty obvious. And so to solve this, we're going to be using something similar to those setup moves that we used to hide corner pieces earlier. But instead of bringing it down like this to hide the piece, we're actually going to be bringing it up like this. And so you can do this in either direction. It doesn't matter if it's mirrored or not. You can just bring it up like this or over on this side. In this case, I'm just going to bring it up like this. And what you want to do is bring this corner piece obviously away from where it is and not into the correct slot. We want to move it over just into one of these two slots. It doesn't really matter, just like that for now. And then we can bring this side back down. And now you see that we have one of our familiar cases. And so this one we have opposite on the top. And so we can bring the side with white down, bring this piece over to the back, and now we can insert it into the correct position. And so here's another case. We have the corner piece with the matching edge piece back here, and white is facing up on this corner piece. So all we want to do is make this into one of those previous two cases. It doesn't matter which one. So we could either turn it like this or like this. It doesn't really matter. We'll just do it like this in this case. So we move it up, we move it over off to one of these sides and back down. And now you can see that we have one of our normal cases. So in this case, this is the weird one. We have to do something like this and then insert it. And now I'm going to show you one more example, and this one has something that could go wrong, but I'll show you the very simple way of fixing it. So what you want to do is bring this up to the side. It could be to this side, could be to this side. It doesn't really matter. And bring the corner piece over and then back down. But you may have noticed that we just messed up our edge piece and now it's in this slot, and we don't know how to deal with that yet. And so let's just undo those three moves real quick. Instead, what we want to do when we're moving this piece up, we want to make sure that this edge piece isn't going to be taken away when we move the side back down. So what we have to do is just move it over like this, and now the edge piece is perfectly fine on the top layer. If instead we had done something like bringing it over here, obviously that's not right because the corner piece is in the slot and it will just be brought down. We want to make sure that both the corner piece and the edge piece are over on this side. As long as it's over in one of these couple pieces and we bring it back down, that's not going to affect it and you will be fine. And so here I'll just solve the case. So we get our white facing corner piece, we bring it up, bring it over, make sure that this edge piece isn't getting brought down, bring that back down. And now we can match up these two pieces. That we have the same color on the top, so we can bring this down, over, back up, and then insert it into the slot just like that. Okay, so we are now done with most of the hard part to F2L. However, there are a couple more things that are important that are coming up. So what you should be able to do now is take any two pieces in any positions on the top layer that are matching. So like these two pieces right here, do some setup moves, get them set up to a case like this, or like this, and put them in. However, there is one slight problem that you may encounter. You can have a case like this, where we have the piece right here and the piece right here. Simple enough, right? We have the two matching pieces on the top here, and so all we have to do is move this piece down, move this over, and that back up, and then we can insert this and we'll be done with F2L. But wait a minute, we had all three of our F2L pairs done. So I'm just going to show you that one more time. 3 F2L pairs done, and now we bring this down, over, back up, and this F2L pair is gone. So what we did, you might have seen it there, is as we were hiding this piece down by turning the side of the white piece on it down like this to move this edge piece over, we actually messed up this pair that we already made. And so there is one simple way to avoid this. Pretty much any time that you're bringing down a pair, just make sure that this slot in the back is empty. And so what you can do to make sure that this is empty is just turn it so that there's an empty slot back there. And now when you bring this piece down, you bring the edge piece over like this and back up. Now this slot is ready for you to bring the piece in just like this by making an L shape, and all the other slots are just perfectly fine. So this applies whenever you're setting up to one of those two cases, except of course if you have no F2L pairs already made. But if you have 1 or 2 or 3 like I showed you before, in this case we have 2, you need to be careful of that. So we have our 2 pieces right here. They're opposite on the top. We can't just bring this side down because it also brings the edge piece with it. And so we have to turn the side that's not white. This is the case that I showed you earlier. But when we do that, we're actually messing up the slot in the back. So what we can do is just slide it over like this, and now this slot is empty. So you kind of just want to test out and turn it like this. See which slot gets messed up when you turn this side. And then that allows you to bring it over to the correct spot by just doing a U-turn. That's all I'm doing, just turning the U side. Now we can bring it down, and this slot is not getting messed up. And we have the pair, and we can put it in just like that. And of course this also applies with those white up cases that I just showed you when you have the white corner piece facing upwards. And so in this case, when you're doing your kind of setup move like this, you're messing up this slot. And so all you want to do is move it so that this corner piece is directly above the empty slot. And then you can just bring it over like this, make sure that you're not bringing this edge piece back down over like this. And then you can do your setup to a normal case and put it right in. Okay, now the question you've all been waiting for, what happens if the 2 pieces that I'm pairing together aren't both in the top layer? Like this one's down in a pair, this one's up at the top layer. How do I get these together? Well, it's actually really simple to solve one of these cases. All you really have to do is set it up so it's in one of these 3 cases, and then you'll be able to solve it. All that involves doing is taking the pieces out of the slot. And so I'm going to demonstrate right here when you have 2 pieces that are in the slot. They could be in this slot, they could be over in another slot. It doesn't really matter where they are as long as they're in a slot and you can't get to them by doing U-turns. This is what you're going to do. Let's say we have 2 of them down here. We can turn a side up. It doesn't matter. We can use this side if we wanted. We can use this side. We move it over and we move it back down. And now we have one of those cases that we already know how to solve. You could even, when you're doing this, you could turn it over here. Now you have a different case, or you could turn it like this. In this case, we actually have the same case. It doesn't matter how many times you turn the U side from this case, and it will always work. And then of course, once we get here, we're just going to do one of our normal cases. So in this case, we need to set it up to that second main category and then insert it just like that. Now, of course, both pieces aren't always in the slot. Sometimes you'll have one piece out of the slot and one piece in the slot. Sometimes you'll have it like we have for these 2 pieces where we have the edge in the slot and the corner piece up here. Sometimes you'll have it like this pair right here where you have the edge piece up here and the corner piece down in the slot. But for now, I'm just going to show you how to solve this case. But they're both practically the same thing, and it's the same thing that I just showed you. You bring the piece up, you move it over, and you bring it back down. And that's all there is to it. The one thing that you do need to be careful about though is that when you bring up the piece like this, you want to make sure that you're turning it in a way that you don't get the corner piece stuck down in here. Because we had the edge piece in here. If we just bring it up here and get it on the top layer, but we bring the corner piece back down, then that's pretty much useless because now we can't get to the corner piece. So what we want to do is just simply bring it up in a way that preserves both those pieces on the top layer. So there we go, just like that. And now we can solve it just like we normally would. Something like this and like that. So I'm just going to give you a couple of quick examples. So let's just say that we have the corner piece down in the slot this time and the edge piece is up here. All you really have to do is bring the corner piece up. You could do it from the other side too. It doesn't really matter. In this case, let's just do it like this. We bring the corner piece up. We bring it over so that both these pieces are out of the way from being brought back down. If we had it like this, then this edge piece would be brought back down. So we don't want that. Basically just experiment with it until you figure out a way to do it like this. And now we have a very basic case and we can just insert it just like that. And so one more time, here we go. We found 2 pieces here. We just want to bring them both out of the slot. So let's just do it on this side this time. So we bring them out, we bring it over, and we bring this side back down. And now we can just solve it like we normally would by bringing this side down because we have opposite colors on the top. Bring that away from there. And there we go. This is all just the stuff that I showed you earlier. And insert it just like that. Okay, so there you go. You've now learned everything you'll need to solve any possible F2L case on the cube. I've shown you every single possible case, or at least some possible variation of it, that you can just mirror or flip or turn the cube in a slightly different way to solve any possible case. So what I have here is I've made the cross on a cube. I just completely randomly scrambled this, and I'm just going to do a quick example solve. Okay, so we're going to start off by making sure that the white cross is always on the bottom. Now we're going to look up here and look for an F2L pair. So I see one right in front of me here with these two pieces that are matching. And so what we can do is, because obviously this corner piece is up here and the edge piece is down in the slot, we can bring the edge piece up here, bring it over. Obviously, if we were to bring it back down there, you would mess up and put the corner piece in the slot. So we don't want to do that. We'll bring it over twice now, bring that back down, and now we have this. And so we have opposite colors on the top here. And so we can do our normal case with hiding this piece, just like that. Make sure you're turning the side that has white on it. Bring that down, bring this over to the back, and this back up. And now we can find the slot that this goes into, over around here, and bring it right in like that. Okay, so now for the second pair, we're just going to look around for two matching pieces. I see, first of all, this corner piece right here. It has blue and red on it. So I'm just going to look for the blue and red edge piece. It's over here in this slot. So what we can do is we just bring it up to the top layer, because obviously it's in the slot. Bring over and back down, and both pieces are out of the slot. They're both right here. Now we have one of our white up cases, so we can actually keep that orientation. Now we do one of the white up things where we make sure that these are both out of the way and bring it back down. Now that sets up to one of the opposite cases. So we can do this, make sure that, again, the slot in the back is not being messed up. Bring it over like that. And now we can insert it right in like that. Now just looking around here, we have two slots left. I see this corner piece down here matching up to this edge piece up here. So all we have to do is bring the corner piece up, over around like that, and back down. And now it's already set up to just insert. So we can insert it like that. And then that leaves us one final pair right here. And this is actually the special case where you can't bring white down, because that also brings the edge piece down when you're hiding the corner piece. So instead you have to bring it down the other way so that you don't hide the edge piece. But in this case, that's actually going to mess up the slot in the back there, like I showed you earlier. So instead of messing up the slot in the back, you want to bring it over here so that you're not messing it up. Now you can bring it over and back up. And now you can bring this in just like that. And now, of course, once you're done, you can solve the last layer however you want. I'm just going to use the beginner's method because it's easy that way. There we go. Like this. And we can orient all these edges. And so yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Before you leave, just a couple things. First of all, one of the reasons that F2L is so efficient is because it's designed so that you barely ever have to do an F move, or for that case, a B move. Pretty much all your moves that you should be doing are right moves and left moves, and of course up moves. And so you can be turning the cube around like this, just doing moves like this. And you should never really have to do an F move like you had to do with those annoying beginners algorithms like that. So for example, let's just say that you see a pair back here and you know that you can just do a B move like this, U, and then B, like that. And it will set it up to be able to insert it like this. Instead of doing all those complex B moves, it's much easier to just rotate the cube and do it like that. And then again, when you're inserting this pair, gives another good example. Instead of doing F prime, U, F like that, it's much easier to just rotate a Y rotation and do it like that. And kind of going along with that, you want to make sure that you're only ever doing Y rotations. And so a Y rotation is kind of like this when you're just turning it around this axis, making sure that the cross is always on the bottom. If you were instead to do a rotation like this, like maybe you're looking for a piece and you get stuck like this, then you may get confused because the cross is now in the back of the cube, or maybe the cross is on the side of the cube. You want to make sure that the cross is always on the bottom. Never turn the cube like this or like this or like this. But also keep in mind when I say only doing Y rotations, that doesn't mean when you're looking for a pair you should be doing this. It's much better to just look at the cube like this, kind of move it around until you find a pair, rather than going, oh, I think I found one. There you go. And that all goes to show that F2L is all about efficiency. So instead of doing a couple algorithms to get the corner piece in and an algorithm to get the edge piece in, all you have to do is do a couple moves and a couple more moves, and that will typically get a pair in. Now, when you first learn F2L and you're a beginner at this, like you probably are right now, you will probably do some of those things that I just told you not to do, and some of the cases that I showed you could be made more efficient by doing them in specific ways, but I just didn't have time to show you all those in this video. So there actually are algorithms for certain cases that are very inefficient doing intuitively, like I showed you today, like this one right here. In this case, what I would do is that, and it put the corner piece in and the edge piece just perfectly like that without having to rotate the cube or move anything around. That's the magic of kind of intermediate advanced F2L. I will be coming out with a video of that soon, showing you some of those easy cases to be able to do, like maybe you have a corner piece right on top of an edge piece, you can just do moves like that and it will get it in. I'm not showing you guys those today because this is just the simple intuitive part of F2L. But for now, that is pretty much all I have for this video. Again, that video with intermediate will be coming out soon. But in the meantime, you should get very good and very comfortable with this current method before you go on to learning any of those fancy tricks. So I hope you guys learned something today. Hopefully you guys learned how to do F2L. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you're having any problems, again, leave a very, very, very specific comment down in the description. If you're just saying that a certain case won't work, well, you have to tell me how it won't work, and then I will be able to respond to you and tell you how to fix it. But yeah, be very specific if you're having any problems, but you can ask in the comments and I will make sure to help you. Anyway, that is it for this big tutorial, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!